All right. So now we just gotta wait for people to call in, or chat or something. Yeah. Oh boy. Here we go. Who's on? Who do we have? It's gonna be interesting doing this for the first time. I'm afraid to ask who the second person is because I'm pretty sure I know who it is, but I don't know who it is. Okay. Let's see. How can I figure that out? Participants. So basically, I'm looking. Oh, that's a hot mic. This is the first one, people. So get used to it, or don't get used to it. I don't care. We're gonna try this out and talk to whoever wants to call in. If you want to give me a call, you can call me at area code 732-510-0167, and we'll just talk. We'll see what comes up. And you want to talk about the crap that's going on right now with this virus, or what your kids did while you're home working today, or if you got to go to work, if you were able to get toilet paper, if you drank too much. It's all up to you. Whatever you want to do. We're just going to talk. I figured all my friends are doing live streams of them performing. Nobody really wants to watch a bass player. So I would take my podcast and that I haven't really been able to do for a little bit and push it live and do it as a pirate radio show, if you want to call it that, just without music. So I wish I was able to see who was actually on. I can see that I do have people on. Um, you can say something to me. You can chat with me, whatever you want to do. Hello, folks. So this is the first one. So it's like a learning experience to see what's going to happen. Um, and we'll just take it from there. I think someone was interested in calling in. I don't know if he's going to call in, though. We'll see. Maybe I should call him. Let's see. Let me text him. The power of the internet, I guess you could say. And if you hear my kids in the background, I do apologize. I got them all riled up, and you may even hear my cat, rather. I think I hear the kids. Let's see. Bring this over here. Technology, it's a wonderful thing. Jim House mentioned me. Jim House wants to talk about smoked meat. Who else wants to talk? Anybody? The line's open. You could just give me a call and we'll just sit here and yap. And if not, I'll get off here in a couple minutes. Well, not get off, but because if not, my wife will yell at me for wasting time. Let's see. Oh. We do have someone that's going to be joining this call that's going to make things a little interesting if people want to listen to a fun chat. Should I post and change to yes? Definitely post. Good friend of mine who has a lot to say about a lot of things, and definitely shows a different point of view, is probably going to join us shortly. And I'm going to have to make sure to use his proper name so I don't get sued later on down the line. Oh, damn it, Paul, you got to need the link. All right, he's very self-conscious about promoting, which I dig. Yes, I am drinking. If anybody's, damn it, I wish. Oh, look at that, my niece is joining in. Well, hello. I may even want to drag you into this call. I may join you. So we're gonna, as soon as I get more people on, and Paul and I discussed this earlier, Morgan, we're going to talk about you and the crap you're dealing with currently, and we can see what's happening. But as you can see, by the way, anybody who's watching, this is me unshaven for 2 weeks. I don't know what's more pitiful, the state of our country or the amount of facial hair I can grow in 2 weeks. Definitely not enough. Let's see. I wonder if there's a way I can call Morgan and then have Paul join in. This is all a test run anyhow, so let me see. Morgan, I may call you, so you're going to have to answer. And if you don't want to, maybe that's a possibility. Morgan, if I call you, you're going to answer? You can send me a message. Let's see. You better answer soon, Morgan, because I'm looking up your number now, honey. And I'm going to call you in about 2 seconds, and you're going to be on the line. Nope, not that. The wonders of technology. If I would have had this years ago, I would have never, ever gotten a real job. Morgan, here comes a phone call, dear. Cooking dinner. Answer the phone, lady. Awesome. Let's see if she actually answers. I don't know who the other person is. There's a second person, maybe Jill. Morgan's not going to answer. She's young. She doesn't know how to answer the phone. She just texts messages, and that's it. She doesn't even really know how to talk. She knows how to like place emojis, and that's it. And just to let anybody know who is listening, eventually this is actually being recorded, and it will be put up on my page. We just jumped up another bunch of listeners. So I'm going to post this again on Facebook that I am currently live. And whoever wants to listen, you're more than welcome to listen. Let's see, leave this page, share. I'm going to post it again. I am live. Come listen. What a wonderful picture. Me looking down at my keyboard. It's wonderful. We got 8 people. Hey, whoever's on, just throw. Ooh, hey, what's this? Oh, this is maybe a special guest. They did.
Call from Paul Big Bang. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Mr. Paul.
Are we on live already?
We are.
Oh,
We are
easy.
officially live. So anything you say, if you don't have your lawyer in front of you, you're just extremely fucked.
If I don't have my lawyer in front of me?
Well, to sign off on anything, I don't know what you need.
All my lawyers are on fucking line right now, fucking registering with the federal government, trying to get a bailout. They're not going to bail me out.
So Paul texted.
I even made a call. I even made a call to one of them. They're like, "I'm sorry, gone fishing." What the fuck?
Paul sent me a text message that I fell in love with instantly. He goes, "Let's piss off people, or let's bring the anger." He said. That's the way to do it.
So with all my friends, let's see. For all my friends, they can go to my post that I put up for your show, and I guess they just clicked on that, and it can automatically they're getting it live. Correct?
Yeah. We'll start seeing if the numbers rise, but yeah.
All right. And are people actually responding? You have like the comments in front of you, which I can't see as well, probably.
Yeah,
can see all the
I can see that there's people online. That's what I can see, and there's not many, but I'm sure there's more to come. We'll soon see. I know my and you and I were discussing this earlier, and she's listening. We have Trish is on.
Trish is listening.
Yeah, Miss Mele.
Can Trish actually hear me?
She can hear you. Yeah. She's here, and that's all that matters, she says. But my niece is on that you and I were discussing earlier about how messed up it is that she has to still show up to work, even though retail stores are supposed to be closed right now.
Oh, that was a story that you told me about. Everybody that's listening, that she was at one of the stores. I guess we can't say it online. You got to be careful, right? But it's
a cell phone store that doesn't start with T or S, but definitely starts with a V.
Yeah, but
is that a safe way to say
vendetta or V for vagina? Here's some clues, people. You win a free back scratcher. Just awesome. Saying. I mean, so you did tell me the story, and I think it's messed up that somebody actually is being forced to work, but there are restrictions involved in that. I mean, there's a lot of people being whipped into conditions from some private business owners that are absolutely selfish and don't think of anybody but themselves, as we know.
Yeah.
We talked about before that, that person will probably wind up screwing all of the employees over. If they don't care about their welfare, they're not going to care about their pocket.
And as I said to you and I said to her, it's a matter of, just leave. If you don't feel safe, leave. There's no reason to stay. And to be honest with you, that type of position, and I know she can find another position somewhere, but with that type of position, it's not a career position. It's something that you could probably find something making more. Everybody's got to pay a bill. I understand everybody's got to pay a bill, but it's a matter of, if somebody's forcing you to work through something you don't feel safe about, leave.
Well, exactly. Anybody that's listening, if you're feeling pressured by your boss, they don't really care about your health or your well-care being, just leave. And you know what? After everything clears and the smoke and dust clears, a lot of these people will be held accountable. I'm sure the courts are going to be clogged up for a mile long, and I've tried to tell people that many times, because the court systems are shut down right now. So anybody who thinks that I'm going to sue, you're going to wait a long time. The judicial system is going to be backlogged.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. So it's getting to the point where every man for themselves. That's for sure. I'm actually doing fucking puppet shadows in my windows to my neighbors, and they kind of liking it. Actually, I might go on Venmo for it. What do you think about that? I might have a manscaping contest too with a lot of my neighbors.
Well,
everybody shut their side, open up your side window, get your razors out, and let's see who has the smoothest.
Well,
sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, you may have crossed the line, but the good thing is that there's no FCC on this situation.
I don't really, at this point, I really don't care. You know what? I've seen so much and been through so much. You know what? That's why I wanted to go on with you, because, a lot of these things, everybody's on everybody's trying to, perform and do the videos and a lot of the cover bands. And I think it's cool. It's great.
very cool.
Everybody's they got to express themselves. For me, it's just a matter of there's just not enough logic out there. People are just jerking each other off too much. There's just too much stroking going on. There really is.
Well, to be honest with you, I think with all our friends that are, I like Jamie just posted puppet shows. He needs to use another hand, but anyhow,
who's that? Jamie who?
Jamie Aquila. He's a good friend of mine. But
okay.
no, I think,
Hi, Jamie.
yeah, I think with our friends that are performing online, which is really cool. I do agree. I just saw a great performance of Chris D'Amico with his daughter doing Elton John. Oh, what the hell was her name? Bonnie Tyler doing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart."
Yeah, that's good feel stuff right there. That's Chris is awesome.
Chris is
super
awesome.
Talented guy.
Yeah,
great guy, and those are good feel things. You know what I mean? But a lot of this stuff, I mean, on social media aside from the music, it's good to do that. But there's just so much bullshit out there. I can't even take it anymore. I actually have to take an intelligence exam every 3 hours just to make sure that I'm reading the same shit over and over again. And I'm reading.
Are you passing?
No, because you know what? I already took Dumb Down 101 in September. I passed with flying colors.
Oh, well, at least it's just the same class over and over again.
It's just unbelievable what's going on. The panic and pandemonium is at an all-time high. And everybody on social media is a 101 doctor, a 101 lawyer, and a 101 politician. And I'm seeing it everywhere. So, the truth, and I'm glad you brought that up. The truth of the matter is that there are a lot of people speculating, and you and I were doing it today as well. There's a lot of people speculating on what is actually going to stop this, what can actually prevent this. And really, I hate to say it this way, the only people that really know are the Chinese right now, because they're the only ones that supposedly, and I use air quotes, that have finally officially stopped it. But let's look at it this way. They went from the end of December to literally the middle of March. So with all of us going down on lockdown right now, or starting the lockdown, and for us in Jersey, it really officially started this past Friday and Saturday for us. But we may be looking, if the experts are saying we got to jump on it now, and the Chinese took literally 3 months, we're looking at probably at least 2 months. If we cut a month off of it, that's amazing. But I'm not going to bet the house on that one. Nobody knows. No, nobody knows.
But that's the cool thing is everybody is finding an outlet to do this. And if I can figure out a way to do this nightly, in the evening at a certain time, give people a voice to vent, or to be comical, or to whatever. I know, maybe I'll get Trish on here and she'll get me thrown off the air. I don't know.
Yeah, she's right now. I could hear her going, shit, yeah. But yes, it's dude, this is crazy right now. So everybody's just got to digest it. It's been a week. So, everybody's trying what they can, and people are trying to raise money. I see a lot of people raising money on social media, trying to pay their bills. And, what I saw today in DC was just absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to place any blame on either side, because a lot of people just don't know. I think it's more informational.
I really want to hear your opinion on that, because I know your views on politics. I know your views on Dems versus Republicans. And I think that would strike a really interesting conversation. And I do have a way to bring another caller in if I do have to. But what is your opinion on the whole not passing this whole, stimulus thing?
Well, number one, you have two sides, right? It's like
sometimes
it's
three.
Like dodgeballs. You have to. Well, yeah, no, forget about Bernie Sanders. That guy, that guy's just smoking some weed somewhere in Cuba. Anyway, You know, he's actually very smart. He's a smart guy.
He is.
He really is. He's been a senator a long time. Bernie Sanders is actually a very smart man. His wishes and dreams and his wish list are never going to come true in a republic, number one. But the red and blue team, if you're not a Democrat, you're a Republican. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat. So if I don't agree with somebody that's a Democrat, well, I'm a racist. Well, if I don't agree with a Republican, well, I'm a snowflake libtard. This is where we've gone. I've been in politics my whole life with my family and business. I've seen it all, and I've been on both sides of the fence. But this nonsense in this country at this point, what's going on, nobody no longer rides up the middle. We don't have a middle lane anymore, and that's called partisanship. There is no more partisanship. Now, was Nancy Pelosi wrong today? And is Donald Trump wrong today? No. Both are wrong and both are right. We don't know what Trump's going to do. All we do know is that people have short-minded minds as far as vision and what happened about 12 years ago. 12 years ago, we had a crash.
Yeah.
We bailed out the big companies.
Yep.
We gave them a lot of money. Of course, we wanted the money back. Of course, I'm really sure, 99% sure that the government didn't get interest on like some kind of car loan from these companies. But many of them did pay back their tabs. But
very low
that's
interest
not the
rates.
problem.
Very low interest rates, if any.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they paid back their tabs. What happened was that people just don't understand. Actually, I just want to share something real quick.
Okay.
There was a woman on Facebook, and I got into it with somebody that has a small business. Now, I know maybe there's a lot of people on here that are just like, I'm fucking bored. I'm going to go watch, The Housewives of New Jersey. Go right ahead, please. I don't want you to hear it anyway.
Right.
But, that money gets passed down. What's happening right now is the Dems and Repubs are both right and wrong. We don't want to give money and stimulus to the big fat cat corporations. You know, people like Jamie Dimon, these kind of the CEOs, you know what? I know that they are American businessmen, and people need to hear this, because I've been in it a long time in business and politics. These fat cats, they can handle the blow to their companies. It's not that they can't handle it. They don't want to, when they're greedy. And what they do is they take the bulk of the money and they don't put it down to their people. And basically, when everything comes to rest and gets situated again, most people don't get their jobs back. And that's why the small people are complaining. And that was a thing with them today, which I do agree with, but sneaking in all of these other things, like this climate change bullshit and everything else, that's just a scam sham.
Right.
That's a scam sham with trying to slip something under the rug when somebody's not looking. This is the coronavirus aid package. But you have to remember, Steve Mnuchin is in charge of $500 billion. We don't know where that's going to go. Anyway, aside from that, both sides are wrong and right. But people don't understand it. So small businesses are suffering. Some girl attacked a woman that owns a small business and said, well, you know what? Lower your costs then. The small businesses are suffering. That's who needs the stimulus, not these big banks.
Yeah. Thank you for not finishing that statement.
Yeah, I had a list going on there.
Yeah, I know.
So the big companies do not need a bailout. Small businesses like you, like myself, we need this stimulus. That's who needs it. And that's who employs most of the people in this country. Yes, the big corporations do employ people, but they are sheep of slaughter. So there has to be a middle road with this. So people just don't understand that.
Yeah, and not only that, but I got into, and I won't call it a debate. I got into a discussion with my friend Tim this morning. Unfortunately, it was on social media, but a lot of people's first reaction is, well, we're bailing out the big boys, and not only are we bailing out the big boys, but we're handing over money to CEOs and CFOs and COOs of large corporations so they can have a raise. That's not always the case. And in history,
Excuse me, so they can have a what?
So they can have a raise in their wages. But in history, this has been happening a long time. This is probably going back Carter, Nixon, whatever. It's just that now it's becoming more public. It's becoming more known because, well, back then we only had three news broadcast stations that happened twice during the day. And now we have world news all day, 24 hours. So they have to report on something, and everybody's got a different opinion. And I had a good conversation with our friend Phil and my friend Scott, and together it was just like, and with a bunch of other people, it was just like, you sort of gotta bring all the news production together to listen to everybody and figure out what the fuck everybody's talking about, and then make up your own thought out of that. But with all this, and I'll let you finish your thought, is that with all this, a lot of this that they're talking about now, it's not to give the CEOs a raise. It's the chance to give them money to say, hey, stay in business, don't fall, because if you fall, what's going to happen is that's going to trickle down to the smaller businesses that you lend money to, and to also other people that you employ that survive for other people. So in my situation where I do, and I won't mention, but what I do, I work for a large financial organization. If they go under, thousands of people, and I don't mean the single digits, I mean like quadruple digits.
I'm aware. I'm aware of that.
Right. I know you are.
I'm all about big business. I'm all about big business. But listen, I got a problem. I'm about big business. I come from a business family, and I come from a very political family. So I know there's some people listening, but you know what? To understand this, it's going to affect us all right now. This is an opportunity for us to reset the country. It won't happen. What you're talking about 60 or 70 years ago, this comes down to moral hazard. And you know what moral hazard? That's the problem. The problem back in the day is that we had moral ethical business standards. And what we did was we trickled down correctly to our people and distributing it everywhere for everybody to have a bite at the American pie. Now what's happening is greed, ego, to a point when a CEO, so your friend's kind of right, no CEO should be able to bonus himself $40 million on top of having a $25 million a year salary. I don't care how much money he makes for the company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I am not a Bernie Sanders supporter. I don't believe in that. But you know the reason why Bernie Sanders is getting popular? Because of these greed people. 60% of the wealth is owned by 1%. And when it tips the scales like that, when somebody has nothing to lose, guess what? Because I had a point in my life where I had nothing to lose. And my thinking was a lot different. And my thinking was, fuck it, you know what? I'm going to burn it all down. And that's why these millennials are saying, fucking burn it down. We want Bernie Sanders. It's because of these greed mongers. You want to be a fucking greedy person, and you want to have a summer home, and you know what? And you want to have 10 different cars and speedboats. You know what? There's a point that it gets to. Our country has seen its best days as an empire, and it's on its way down. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anything's going to fix it unless we have a reboot. That's it.
Well, do you think that there's, and it's hard to say, but do you think that there's any positive coming out of this?
The positive coming out of this, in my opinion, now I'm a strong republic democracy kind of guy, but I've seen both sides of the fence. I've worked with Republicans and Democrats. I studied the system my whole life. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. Is there winning out of it? I don't think so. I don't think there's any way out of this. I think we're going to get close to a depression. It's going to get very, very close. We're teetering on 1929.
Dude, we're literally we're a week away.
Yes, we are. That's why I put a post out today that we're at 1929. People don't understand that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that sometimes, I know some people listening on here that have all their fancy shit and their fancy houses are going to hate me for it. I don't really care, because I want to thrive and be successful as well. I think there needs to be something close to it. I think there needs to be a reboot, almost a crumbling of this country for better opportunity. Sometimes when you have crises like this, at the other end comes new ideas and more community.
Yes.
And more people sticking together and sharing the wealth. I am not one for socialism, not at all. Because you know what? Everybody getting an equal piece of the pie, guess what? There is no incentive to do any better.
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have incentive, what the fuck you want to wake up in the morning? You wake up in the morning, Bernie Sanders is my president. I get a check every week for $500. Are you kidding me? That just kills the American dream and kills creativity.
Well, yeah, and it kills drive.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. You couldn't even take 10 Viagra pills and that thing won't stand up like a flagpole. Well, it's fucking probably free and generic anyway.
Well, here's what I ran into the other day. I've lived in the same neighborhood since Sandy. So what's that? 7 years, right? So in that time, I know 4 of my neighbors out of 10, and we got a weird echo happening off your phone line, but that's okay. So I recently, just the other day, Saturday, I was running out and I ran into one of my neighbors who is also a landscaper, and he, what you call it, Paul, you got to move to another area in your house or something like that because we're getting this weird echo.
How's that?
Yeah.
You better now?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But other people are even mentioning it. But anyhow.
Well, I got nothing with batteries hooked up, so.
So I ran into him, and the first thing was he stopped me and he was just like, "Hey, is everybody in the house okay?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. How's everybody in your house?" He's like, "Good." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Do you need anything?" Now, I've talked to this guy 4 times in the 7 years that I've lived here. And I told him, I said, "No, but I'm going to Walgreens. If you need anything, let me know and I'll pick it up for you and just give me the money or whatever." And he's just like, "We're all good. If I need anything, I'll let you know." 4 times that I met this guy. I drank with him. My point is that it seems like this sense of community is coming together. People are realizing that shit can go wrong at any second. And we need to bring those together who will help.
The only problem is the fire has to be burning down the house for people to wake up and understand what empathy is. That's the problem when you live in a society that is entitled and greedy. That's the problem. That's the problem. I said it a couple of years ago. I spoke to somebody and said, we need another crisis because we're getting too comfortable. Here we are now. And only until it flattens out, until we really our faces get pushed to the cement sidewalk, do we wake up and put our hands up and go, I'm going to be a better person. Really? Really? It took me to smash your head into the sidewalk? What happened to empathy? What happened to the 1950s, the greatest era in this country?
Yeah.
And it's disgusting out there. It's disgusting. I hate this country and what it stands for now. I hate it.
Well,
I value Japan and South Korea more than America.
I wouldn't go, well, yeah, Japan. I wouldn't say China, but
South Korea is the most modern country in the world. They are eating our lunch. I know I sound angry, but it's the truth. Check out South Korea, the most modern country in the world. And Japan, the most elite of people and culture and respect in the world.
You know, the one thing that's been driving me crazy, and I've been watching pretty much every White House debriefing and or briefing and all the Cuomo briefings. The one thing that drives me crazy is hearing Trump sitting there go, "We are the leaders of technology, we are the leaders of medicine," and I stand behind a lot of stuff that he says or that he does. But he's so off with those comments, and that drives me crazy.
You know as well as I do, that's just him driving propaganda. He's got to say that. I don't agree with everything he does.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like these fucking yahoos anymore. I'm really tired. People are attacking me on Facebook because I'm standing in the middle, and people don't like it. And people are very uncomfortable when you take them off of their stance. And that needs more of that. You know, not either side. Our two-party system is great, but it's great to fuck with both sides because you know what? Both sides have good and bad points. I mean, Trump, you know what? I mean, I don't want to talk bad about him or Obama or anybody. There are presidents.
Right.
You know, Obama was a great speaker. He did some good things. You know, but of course, any Republican listening right now is like, oh, fuck him and fuck that. To me, these people, the hard left and hard right, all of you people that are listening, you're nothing but anarchists. You don't look in the middle. You don't stand in the middle. You're anarchists on both sides of the fence. That's all you are. and everybody votes for their personal opinion and not for the greater good of the country. And that's what pisses me off.
You're trying. Are you trying to get everybody to walk away?
Good, let them walk away.
No. We only got 8 people listening, man.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that it's just, everybody is voting for what they need personally.
That's always the case, though. I mean, it's always the case. Every time,
always the case.
if you look at all the politicians and if you skip through presidential, governor, mayor, if you go all the way back down to when you were in school and was always the kid of like, I'll give you a soda machine, I'll give you the candy machines. It was entice the people for what they want, not what you can give them, but what they want. And the only thing, and listen, when I don't and you're gonna fucking smash me on this one. I've never voted for anything. I've never registered to vote, and the reason for that is because I paid attention to history, I paid attention to the rules of government, and I knew that I really didn't have a say in a lot of things. And not only that, for a long period of time in my life, I didn't want to be called for jury duty, and I never really stayed in the same place for longer than a year or two. And recently, well, fuck, I got called for jury duty, so I'm like, I might as well vote this year, this coming electoral, and I'm going to. But when I watched Obama, and man, this fucking echo is killing me. But when I watched Obama prior to his first election, I was just like, this guy's a great speaker, and he's going to pull the wool over a lot of people's eyes. And he's not really going to accomplish much, but he'll accomplish something, but he won't accomplish much. And he pushed people, and it was like, all right, cool. We got the first black dude in. Awesome. I'm probably just going to get a bunch of shit on that one. And on top of it, he tried to push the envelope of being, I'm cooler than just being a white dude playing a saxophone. When we had to get past him, and when we were coming down to, is it going to be Bernie, Hillary, or Trump? Listening to Trump, I had to go back to what my grandfather said to me years and years and years ago, of when we had what the hell was his name? You're gonna correct me too. Give me a second. Businessman, old guy, big ears. What the fuck was his name, Paul? We talked about him 1,000 times.
What, Ross Perot?
Ross Perot. My grandfather once said to me, we need a businessman that's going to run this country like a company, like a business. And when Trump threw his name in the ring, I was just like, that's the guy.
No, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But I do agree with you. But the problem is that I have a problem with Trump. And the problem I have with Trump is his arrogance in thinking that he knows every avenue of the administration. You know what? A smart leader listens to his people and designates people to certain areas. He is great with the economy, and he's great with the military, no doubt. Awesome.
Well,
awesome.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, when he chose Pence as his running mate, I even said to my friend Tim, who he and I were in a big debate today, of like, this is going to be, I'm the CEO, you're the VP, you run my company. And I was totally expecting that. I was totally expecting Trump not to be in the news as much as he was, although he's a sociopath in some sense. But I was expecting him to be like, here, you do the dirty work. And he sort of has done that in all of his speeches in the briefings recently. It's been like, you are providing the positive, here's the other people to give the negative.
Well, and everybody's going to debate you. You know what? The problem is that everybody's going to debate you. Listen, I mean, anybody that's listening, it's I just look at it this way. Every person has something to contribute. You know what? Obama, Trump, I'm not going to trash any of them. Obama put in regulations for, pre-existing conditions. Fantastic. Sorry, I cheered him on completely for that. So, with the whole gimmick of him being the first half black president, Did I say that right?
Yes,
He was the first
technically.
extraterrestrial. Yeah.
He's a Hawaiian.
Yeah. Well, I think his mother was white, but okay, we'll get back to that some other day. You know, everybody forgot about that. We easily forget.
But by the way, my friend Charlie Rad is loving every point of yours.
What's that?
My friend Charlie Rad is loving all your points.
Oh, thank you, Charlie.
There you go. Oh, we got rid of the echo. Wherever you are,
rid of the echo?
Yeah, wherever you are in your house, stay right there.
Well, I can't keep my head behind the crap or crouch down with my butt in the air.
You can. I've seen it.
All right. Wait, let me get a hand mirror so I can admire myself.
What a bunghole.
Well, that too, if they have the hand mirror.
Trish liked that one too.
I think some of our well, we got to kind of loosen it up a little bit. You know, you talk too long about this shit, people are like, you know what?
Yeah, we're gonna have to start talking about like Rush or something shortly.
Well, no, don't start talking about Rush because then your female following will disappear. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think any woman has a Geddy Lee poster in the room and then she turns on the lights low and takes care of herself 5 minutes.
We only have 3 females listening.
3?
3.
Oh, yeah. Well, once you finish,
we have Kate.
Rush,
we have Miss Kate. We have Trish, and I maybe my niece is still listening. I don't know, and she doesn't even know what Rush is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, who are we getting out of there? I mean,
don't worry about it. Just keep on going.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll just keep on going.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if anybody's listening, everybody else should join in. I know we should get off the politic thing because you know how that is. But honestly, it really is. Listen, my last thoughts about that is, and I don't want to keep going because I know people are getting bored of it, but you know what? We better smarten up in this country. And the thing is, we better stop walking around with red shirts and blue shirts in this country and thinking that there's 2 teams and that you should be throwing javelins at each other. There needs to be a little bit down the middle.
Right.
I truly think there needs to be a strong independent candidate that could really rise up. If it gets to a tipping point, and it's getting there.
So I know you said you wanted to get rid of the politics talk, but I had to ask this question: Is it crazy we have not heard anything from Sanders or Biden in the past 4 days?
Well, if you're a conspiracy theorist, right now they're in a bunker watching the housewives in New Jersey eating their high-end food and being taken care of. Of course they are. I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
It's
maybe
it's crazy because they started slinging shit in the beginning, and then they disappeared. I've noticed that in the past 4 days there hasn't been any conversations at all from them or comments and I'm sure something will come out tomorrow, but as of right now nothing's popped up.
It's not going to come out tomorrow because every media works off of algorithms and numbers.
Mm-hmm.
These numbers are not important. What's dominating is the hashtag coronaviruses, which is creating even more fear. You see how fucking people stupid are. I mean, you see how stupid they are?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what? These people are saying the millennials are stupid. They're hanging out at the beaches. Where the fuck do you think these millennials come from? From their parents.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. I blame their idiot parents. Those are the ones that should be castrated.
Phil DeZago said we should have kept the ban in effect, and I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but maybe he'll send me another message. Let me know.
Yep, the ban in effect. Which ban, on the beaches or?
Nah, you can't ban Phil from the beaches. He needs to be tan all the time.
I think the only ban I don't want up is the abortion ban, because let me tell you something. Feel free to go shopping and please do not bring any more children into the world that you're really not going to take care of, because I don't want to pay for it anymore. You know what I mean? I really don't, because the population is exploding with displaced children. You
Right.
have a family and you take care of your children. You're a great father. Your wife's a great woman. You and Jill. That's okay. But these people that are just, as I call them, pumping out units, are just throwing them out into society, and they're displaced. And it's irresponsible. That's why our population is booming, and booming with a lot of people that don't even know where the fuck they're going in the next minute.
Well, forget about those people. There's even people that are coming from, and I got to watch how I say this, but there's people that are even coming through proper, how the fuck do I say this without sounding like a complete asshole? But there's people that
Yeah,
are
don't worry about people.
yeah, there's people, there's 9 fucking people listening to this. There's people that are coming through this system that come through a proper family, that make it through school, that get through college, and they come out of it and they still don't know what the fuck they're going to do. They still have no clue. They still they get to their junior year of college and they go, "Man, I think I can make this work." And then they get out and they go, would you like fries with
Well,
that?
that's because their parents want to live through them. They force them. I know somebody that went to school and got a 4-year degree in psychology. And I asked her recently, I said, "So what are you doing? You got a 4-year degree in psychology. Fantastic." She's like, "I'm waxing vaginas." I'm like, "All right, well, I'm going to go now. Thanks. Send me a coupon."
Well, we probably just spiked some interest in Andrew Mele for saying vaginas, but you know.
Hey, at least I said the proper terminology.
That's right, vagina.
But yes, I hope that I don't want to bore everybody with politics, but you know, this is a very concerning thing going on right now.
I have someone that may want to join this conversation. Let me see if I can get him in. Let me ask him.
If he's on more caffeine than me, it would be very bad.
No, but he is going to be very well on your side about this. My friend Brian does says he likes hearing about vaginas.
So we're getting on that. Is this the next narrative we're on?
It's now going to become the Howard Stern show, or I highly doubt it. Let me see if he wants me to call him in. Let me see if I can even do that. I think I can. Let's call him. I think. Yes, absolutely. Chris, if you're listening, I want you in. You want me to call you? Send me the text of yes, sir, and you're in. Fuck it. I'm going to call Chris Mele. This is going to be interesting if I can get this to go through. There we go. You ready?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to have 3
Hey,
people
what's
on.
up?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's up, bitches?
All
Bitches,
right.
huh? All
We
right.
got Chris
All right.
Mele. So for anybody
Welcome
who's
to gynecologist hour.
wait, he's not a gynecologist. But for anybody listening, so here's a fun part. So Chris Mele and Paul have been in the Jersey cover band scene for as long as I can remember.
Too
long. But the two of them are, I think they both share similar political views. So Chris, I know you've been listening for a little bit. What's your thoughts of what we've been discussing?
You know, Paul hit it, fairly well. We definitely live in a complex world right now. It's definitely complex society, and you're seeing a situation right now where civic responsibility is kind of crossing with out of control entitlement. And I think the reason why you're seeing that is because the situation that we're in right now, which we find ourselves in, knows no ethnicity. It knows no socioeconomic class. It knows none of these things. It just knows who's behaving irresponsibly, and that's where we all share some common ground. And that's kind of the interesting part here that no one wants to kind of shine a very disinfecting light on. And working in healthcare, it's very frustrating just to see how the message is not really getting out to everybody. I guess the same way. So you're seeing a lot of things that Paul is definitely talking about, where these are kind of the effects of certain people's ignorance.
Well, yes.
Well, I think.
Go ahead,
listen,
Paul.
to add to what Chris said, I'll make a quick point so I don't bore everybody, Chris. The point I'm trying to make here, I'm being in business my whole life and in politics my whole life, without fucking putting everybody to sleep. It's basic math. It's like the Roman Empire. Everything starts out great. just like the union idea, and it gets corrupted. Our country is corrupted, and it's mismanaged in places of importance. And health should be off the table with any country or any empire. But as we know, we eat each other. We're all responsible for our greed. So everybody that's listening, you all contributed to this downfall because we all got greedy. That's it. That's a very big point. That's it.
I think what you're seeing though, Paul, too, is, there's a lot of people who are you're really seeing this entitled behavior. And there are many people who are acting irresponsibly. One of the examples I got today was actually from a colleague at work, and it was, however many new cases there were in New Jersey today of this virus, right? However many cases there were. Many people see it as a threat to our well-being. But there are certain people who see it only as a threat to them individually. Because there's X amount of more cases of this virus in the state, I'm going to get sick.
Eventually.
No one really cares about how that affects everyone around them.
But
all goes with greed. It all goes with all those things. It's all tied together. I agree.
But Chris, we
have a melting pot. We have a melting pot here in this country. Listen, if anybody remembers, people don't give a fuck about the past. You learn from the past to fix the future. Right. In Japan, when they had the tsunami, you want to check out a great society and culture. Listen, America has the most cultures, combined into one country. That's what made America great. But Japan had a tsunami. People were starving and they were homeless. If you see the way those people acted and treated each other, and even getting in line, waiting for food, and they weren't animals, it's something to learn from. It is business, health, culture, family. Japan really is the leader in this world of what a culture should be. I'm embarrassed for this country. It's disgusting.
So Chris, let me ask you a question. Sorry, go ahead.
We survived at 9/11, right? And think about how quickly people forgot about that. It's not in our fabric. This is, the millennials 9/11, and they're gonna fuck it up. Look at right now. Look at Italy. This is a country that has survived world wars, fascism, the Nazis, and they're going to band together over this. We've never experienced that level of sacrifice. The closest it ever got to us was Pearl Harbor and 9/11.
And that's true.
People forget.
And that's true, because we've always fought someplace else. We've always fought someplace else for this country.
World War I and World War II was fought across the pond.
Right.
So everybody that lived in this country did not feel that blunt. Winston Churchill and in England, they felt it. Anne Frank, look at her story.
Yeah, but Paul, the point
were pissed off, and Anne Frank lived under a fucking closet basically for 70. How long? 78 days straight? Yeah,
but the point that Chris is saying is that the last time a war has been fought, and not that we're fighting a war yet, hopefully we don't, but the last time something like this has been fought on our grounds is the Revolutionary War. And past that, I mean, yes, and if you look, and Grant, I'm gonna brag here, I'm younger than both of you. Thankfully, but when you really look at shit past, when I don't want to say migration, but when everything went through the civil rights, right? Everything was sort of kind of hunky dory, if you want to call it that. We didn't go through a lot of bullshit or horrible shit in the 70s, really, unless you want to call it disco. And then after that, and I know my friend Sabina is going to fucking hate that, but after that, the first tragedy we really had in the 80s, besides John Lennon getting killed, is Reagan getting attempted to, assassinated. We didn't really have to deal with anything crazy. And
Well,
Chris
what you're
brings
saying,
up
Freddie,
Chris
that we
brings
don't
up
really face
9/11.
adversity in this country.
Right,
We
but
don't
you
face adversity in this country.
right,
We
but
don't
you
face adversity in this
no, we
country.
don't, and we don't
So
have to. We really don't have to. And actually, I was watching a great podcast of this guy he used to be a Navy SEAL, and he talks about, he goes, we are now all getting the experience of what a lot of people in other countries have to deal with every day. Of you can't leave your house because if you do, you may get sick, or you may get killed, or you may get shot, or you may get blown up. Right now, we're only dealing with an illness, thankfully, that, and now we have a doctor and a political view in here. We can see the difference here. You know, it's unsettling at the same at one point, but it's humbling to show, like, okay, we're a great country that we all been told and believed and see and feel, but at the same time, we're not as strong as we think we are, because shit can go wrong at any moment. And this is the moment.
When you get too soft, when you have a long period of entitlement and no crisis or no adversity, you get soft. It's kind of like a prize fighter. If he doesn't go in a ring and doesn't practice, he gets soft after a while, right? We're all musicians. If we don't practice a little bit or don't continually play our instruments, we get back on it, we're not going to play it as well. That's the problem with society. That's the problem when you're in a rich empire. As far as I'm concerned, it's a basic fact. Look at all your empires: Greece, Rome, England. They all rose, they all fell. We are on a downward spiral, and I can guarantee you, I don't care what anybody tells me, the party's over, kids. Enjoy it.
Well,
that might not happen in our lifetime, but it's gone.
Well,
It's gone.
there's some women that may turn around and say, well, then we just have to allow, if you're going to mention England, they have a woman running it for the past like 65, 70 years.
I don't know what that means, but you can send me a memo.
Paul. No, I don't disagree with Paul, and I think if Phil was here, he would agree. We've had a lot of conversations about this over the years, and I think it's right. I mean, we've gotten soft, but a lot of that goes to the way that we're allowed to do certain things and not allowed to do other things. And we were fighting wars in the last so many years, and I mean, I've seen some of those stories firsthand, in the nature of my work, where these soldiers have been fighting a war with a hand tied behind their back. And that kind of transcends into the population, into the attitudes, and the way that we conduct ourselves. And I think, I don't disagree with Paul. I mean, you read about the falls of these empires, and these are a lot of the elements that lead to the failure of an empire. But we're more evolved at this point, than the Neros and the Caesars. So we should be able to identify these vulnerabilities, and we should be able to correct for them. They always
sometimes
say,
when you have machines, Chris,
is,
sometimes when you have machines speak for you, you fail right at the point.
But
maybe some of the old school people were much smarter than us because they had to think harder instead of having something to think for them.
Well, do you think we've been correcting too much? I mean, and I'm a parent, and Chris, you're a parent, and Paul has listened to me complain about stuff with my children, but it's, you get to the point of, are we getting to the point of where our generation is fixing the generation before us? And when I say that,
I think we're the last hope.
Yeah, and when I say
right.
that, is like, there was a period of time where you go, well, I got my ass beat, and somebody go, well, why? Well, because I didn't do what I was told. Well, that's wrong. Okay, fine. Yes,
stupid,
it's wrong.
Right?
Yeah, okay, it's wrong to smack the shit out of some kid for not picking up their clothes or something like that. But at the same point, when I decided, when I told my old man that I was going to quit school to become a full-time musician, and I'll work construction to get through it. He put me into a position where, okay, well then show me you can do it. And it was more of a less of a lesson of like, are you a person? Are you a man? Or are you a pussy? And when I sat down and tried it, there was no way I was going to work construction for the rest of my fucking life and try to be a musician, because I said, this is not worth it for me. But I think at the same point, and I mean, I don't really have this much say with my son, but with my two kids, it's just like, if they fall down, I'm not going to coddle them. I'm going to be like, all right, you're okay. Get the fuck up. Let's go. Yeah.
Well, Fredee, you and I have had this conversation in the past, and very few people know this about me. And I think you know the story, but like, I'm a high school dropout.
Right.
I decided one day that I was going to be a wise ass. I was going to non-matriculate at Juilliard, and I was going to work in the city. I was going to be a famous drummer. And one day, when I was a bike messenger, I got hit by a taxi cab in fucking New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember lying on the ground, looking up at the fucking sky, saying, I can't do this thing. This is fucking stupid. I went back to school, and I graduated, and I finished my medical school, and so on and so forth. But I just had a conversation with the exact thing today. Someone from my family in Northern Italy this morning. We were talking about preparing generations for adversity.
Right.
And one of the things that we were talking about was how their parents and their grandparents had been successful in surviving, world wars, famine, adversity, fascists, and Nazis, all that kind of stuff. And they have a different sense of understanding how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think despite the numbers in Italy, despite the mortality rate and the rate of the infirmed and all these kind of things, they will likely emerge from this whole experience stronger than us.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's just a forward adaptation of what they already kind of know. Like my son, out of all my kids, my son, and there was the biggest asshole. I'd love to pound on him and straighten him out, but I'd have diapers here in 5 seconds. So you have to find more like creative ways to, structure these kids to do the right thing. And being an Italian American, I have a little more creativity doing some of those things. But
wait, Paul's an Italian American too, so he'll probably see the same views.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I broke Paul's balls the other day about being an Italian American.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, we had a different upbringing.
Yeah.
Paul,
so
I'm sure your parents handled you much differently than your Irish friends. You know what I mean? It just was the way it was.
Yeah, but it was all. Yeah, but that was all. Listen, it was all the same. The European immigration of all Europeans, whether Irish, Italian, Polish, Hungarian, there was a different pride back then. There was a different pride for listen, when our parents fought in World War II, or when those times, it was a different upbringing, more morals, more values, more appreciation. It just keeps heading downhill. That's all it is. It really, it's just a swing. It doesn't even bother. Listen, it doesn't bother me anymore. I expect this. Nothing lasts forever. It's physics. What goes up must come down. Even Italy. Italy is basically socialist. You know what the first downward spiral of something like Italy was? The reason why it started going down? Political correctness. Sound familiar, guys? That was the start of the Roman Empire.
I grew up in Italy.
Going down.
As a young lad, and I remember spending time with my grandparents there over the summers, and communism was the big threat in the 70s and the 80s, and I think Italy made a really wrong turn. We could have a whole separate podcast on Italian politics, but you're right.
I could have a whole separate podcast on Italian guilt.
They literally make the American left look like conservatives. And I think you're going to see after this epidemic, after this after this national crisis that they're having, you're already seeing people like Georgia Meloni, who is very aligned with Berlusconi and Salvini, becoming more central figures, because this whole idea of political correctness, like you said, has kind of gotten to where they are right now with, unexpected death tolls and unimaginable numbers of, sick and infirmed. And it's going to come back. And I think you're going to see a very shift. Just like here, you had 8 years of Obama, and then the pendulum swings back. And in America, the pendulum swings hard. It swings hard every 8 years. You're going to see a shift there in the pendulum that they haven't seen in maybe in decades, but it has to happen. And, they're letting migrants in during, an existential crisis.
Well, you know what? Listen, that's the whole problem. Listen, the biggest problem is that we've allowed ourselves to dumb down. We've allowed ourselves to be controlled by phones and tech, and that's the really big problem. People's focus is there's no more focus. I mean, probably if the people that are listening right now are getting fucking bored, and they're probably on some kind of digital Rubik's cube right now on their phone, jacking off. So. They don't really care. Or, maybe the Housewives is running a reboot, season 6 of the fucking idiot that got deported for, stealing something. But it's expected. I mean, at this moment right now, we could have our whole system shut down. You got one guy running social media, basically, is Mark Zuckerberg. You have Google running basically the whole internet platform, so search engine, that they could shut it down. You have a few people controlling us. We are already in a kind of a communist country already, and people don't even realize it. They don't realize it.
Let me ask you guys a question, because you guys are still playing really in a sector where I don't play as often, but
well, not in the past couple of weeks, but okay.
Well, no, but I moved into moved into an arena now where I'm playing, special events, specific parties, so on and so forth. But we share in the same fear as we have, we had a calendar, much like you guys did. What do you think happens next? I mean, I really think we're going back to the 06, 07 scenario where, due to a lot of the bans on whatever, smoking, so on and so forth, are we going to see some of these great venues at this point kind of like
die off,
just evaporate? Yeah.
It's funny.
Are you asking about some of these big live club venues?
Yeah.
Right. For example, like we play different market than you guys do. We have a great bar in Baltimore that we play in. They do a lot of national, original acts. I don't think they're going to survive. There's a venue that we play in, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is called XL Live. They're more of a corporate Live Nation funded kind of a venue versus a privately owned venue that books nationals.
Well,
you have the bar that you guys work in.
I know what you're saying.
So here's my opinion on that. Here's my opinion about that. Anything that's owned or ran by Live Nation is going to survive because they have the money behind it. That's definitely going to happen. Hold on, let me give my opinion. If you're talking about the local scene, I think there's going to be a lot of smaller bars that were having bands that were doing, the $100 a man to $800 that is going to bow out for a while. And I think that there's going to be other larger venues that will keep on playing bands, but at a smaller rate of pay. That's my opinion, and I could be completely wrong about that. The Live Nation thing, that's a conglomerate, and they have the money behind it. But at the same point, and this is probably what Paul's going to say, is because they're such a large conglomerate, they can bow out at any period of time and not lose their fucking shirt. And that's my thought.
Well, first of all, entertainment is nothing more than an annoying additive to any big corporation. They don't give a flying fuck about entertainment. And that includes casinos too.
Right.
They only do that to satisfy their people, especially in casinos, as an additive for people to have some kind of maybe break from gambling. So bands and entertainment has always been low on a totem pole, but big conglomerates can listen. They don't have a personal touch anymore. You know, there's barely any venues left like Bar A, which, you know, Bar A is, and I speak of that because they're my friends there, is one of the last surviving great venues that has a personal touch. I call Bar A Cheers on steroids. Everybody knows your name. And that's gone. And that's gone. The personal touch is gone. Everything is corporate. Everything is sterile. And basically you get an advance where you show up and you get your 15 meal coupon card when you take a break for 15 minutes after doing 4 1-hour sets. So music has become so sterile, it's gone. And honestly, I don't think it's ever going to come back in its form that we will know of from the past.
Well,
do you think it has another readjustment, Paul, to what we saw with like the smoking bans and all that? After this.
I'm sorry, what was that?
So he's talking about, remember when we went from
smoking
was allowed in a bar?
Ban, 06, 07, remember, and then all the venues had to readjust. Do you think we're going to go through that again?
As far as I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So what he's saying, remember when people were allowed to smoke in bars, and then all of a sudden everybody in Jersey said you couldn't smoke in bars, and other states, and then people just stopped going, and instead of seeing a band, they would go to a shitty ass bar that they were still able to smoke in, or a casino, and then eventually they couldn't even smoke in there. But I know what he's talking about. There was a huge drop off in not only performances where you were able to do, but also the pay that you were able to make, because they were like, you weren't.
Some venues closed.
A lot of venues closed. I mean, if you guys remember, and I know you guys remember, but Tradewinds was the biggest venue you could play in this area, and was a fucking blessed place to play, and that was gone. That play, and if anything, Starland picked it up where that left off, because they were like, okay, well, no problem, we'll get rid of the dancing queens and you can just come in here. But to me, I don't, maybe we're in that point, but I don't think it's like a situation where I don't think it's going to bounce back as fast. I also think, and I'll let you guys put your point of view in here because you have more time in the scene, but I think it's going to be a matter of how long this lasts. Now, what Paul was saying, casinos cancel bans, Chris, for the next 4 months or 5 months, 2 weeks ago. Like, nobody even knew what the hell was going on with this thing. And they were like, gone. They were like, everybody's gone. I mean, I was planning on playing a couple gigs with the new band that I've joined, and gone. And it's just like, okay, well, now what? Now you're just doing
taking a girl out to dinner and buying her a rose, and you don't even get the finished product.
Well, it's kind of crazy, because I know that, I mean, this has kind of been the thing that I've kind of said all along. And, Paul, you've always had a different thing going on. Guys like Fredee have always kind of had like a different thing kind of in the works. But it's kind of like, at some point, I've always felt fearful for our colleagues who have put so much into being a cover band musician, that there's been so many situations where you've seen the wheels kind of come off the bus, and then you put a couple of wheels back on, and maybe you had like maybe in the past you had like a quad axle in the rear, but now you only have like a dually. And at some point you've got to realize that there's only going to be one fucking wheel on the bus. I think we're getting to a point where.
So you're saying we're a unicycle clown?
Well, no, right. I feel like that at some point, like, we're not as cool as like fucking sex workers. No one's gonna donate to our Venmo. Like, no one cares how many times you can sing, My Own Worst Enemy via, like a live stream. Like, you don't have nice tits. At some point, like, they're gonna start falling off. It's just a kind of a crazy time where I think that this is going to have so many economical repercussions, that the way we knew music, Paul, you and I, changed, and the way Fredee knew, knew this scene in the interim after that.
That's true.
Paul,
I came up after you guys were already involved
you and
in it
I
for a long time.
would go see Voices at Nichols Alley or whatever the fuck they were playing, and it was Bob. It became like a commodity, and then something happened, and then
Well, dude, you know what? You don't need to go out anymore because you know what? Tinder gets you a date and rubs your balls at the same time. What the fuck do you need to go out to a club for anymore? That's a very big factor. Uber and Lyft might have saved the club circuit from a certain extinction just for a while.
No, you're
But
right.
that was it. DWI laws and not hooking up.
No, but it started even just with texting. Oh, this band sucks. Oh, the place is empty. That that immediate.
Well, and I will agree with you, Chris. That and I had a good conversation with Chris D'Amico about this. It was once technology got involved forget texting somebody saying, "Oh, it's dead here" or whatever. But I mean, I think I did, Paul. What was that? The summer bash I did with you guys at Bar A, and
yes,
and I got there prior to the rest of Paul's band and Paul and I was just going there to see bands. And while I was there, there was a couple things I noticed. I felt that all the other people that were there were barely 21. I know they were 21, but I felt way older than them. The second thing that I felt was that nobody was really paying attention to the bands. They were all paying attention to their phones, whether they're looking at Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever the fuck it was. Nobody was interested in what the band was doing, which means really the band wasn't putting on a show. The band wasn't really saying, I'm going to grab you in a sense to make you watch us. And not only that, but the three bands that I watched prior to the second headlining band, if you want to call that, prior to Big Bang, they did half the same sets. Nobody is putting the effort in to say, well, let's try to be different. Or if we're going to do the same shit, let's twist it up. And as the beautiful Trish just said, the performance is lost in the art. Nobody is putting their all in, their balls out to the wall of let's do it as a rock show. What I remember from when bands like
Freddie, would they notice?
No, nobody was noticed. Nobody gave a shit. I mean, I remember going to see a club, and no joke, and it was when the two bands were coming up. I saw Screaming Broccoli and Who Brought the Dog on the same bill. They probably did similar songs, but the two of them came out of that establishment of being in an original band, that mindset, I should say, of I need to perform and I need to put my heart into it for people to enjoy. And the one thing that I've always loved playing with Paul is like a variety act. If you watch him, it's funny as hell, and he does a great show, and he makes sure that he has good performers in there. And I gotta say that because I usually perform with him. But on the other side of it, when you're on the stage, he's a conductor of everything. Nothing stops. He makes sure that the show keeps on going and there's no dead sound. He's sort of like, in a good way, a conductor from hell. Of like, you keep on going, don't you fucking stop, because everybody's got to keep on moving. And he really pushes that on, his drummer and me if I'm playing bass with him, or himself, or whoever's playing bass with him, because he knows that rhythm section is going to keep on pushing everybody. And a lot of people don't well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. A lot of the newer groups that are coming up haven't figured that out, because they've all gotten into that sense of like, hey man, let's put together a cover band and we'll make some money. They haven't lived to go see, the bands of like what was, Love Lies Bleeding, Love Pumps into Life Speed, or the Monster that you were in. I remember seeing you guys years ago and your last set was continuous. It was exhausting to watch, you know, and not exhausting in a bad way. I mean, exhausting. I mean, I remember, you know, Mark and Paul would do this extensive long guitar solo over, what the hell was it? Was it, which guys, you guys would end with
Crazy Train. I think
with
it was
Crazy Train. Yeah. And they'd be flipping back and forth with solos, but it was showmanship, you know.
But you see, Paul and I come from the same cloth. And what's interesting about that comment, Fred, is that I brought that work ethic into the tribute scene that I work in. I mean, we could do a whole other podcast on that, but
Right.
we don't stop. There's no stopping.
Right. Yeah.
If we're not playing, there's, you know, historical footage going on while we're, you know, down tuning for the next song, or I'm changing out to mallets from fucking drumsticks. There's something going on to distract the audience from what we're doing theoretically, you know, or, you know, in a practical fashion to prepare for the next song. But we're also playing to people 40 years old and older. I just think that, and Paul will probably agree, playing in a completely, you know, in a totally unique market that, you know, caters to younger individuals, they don't give a shit. They're, you know, their lives are in 30-second videos on Instagram. Yeah, Paul, I mean, you know, tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. The thing is that in the climate today, like even what Freddie's talking about, you know, what I do, and one thing that you can't teach, it's like somebody that goes to college and gets a master's degree. That doesn't mean that that person with a master's degree is going to perform the way they did performing on their test. Because you know what? There's a natural ability. You can't teach natural ability. And as far as what we lost in this generation right now, anybody that's a musician or a performer, what people don't understand is that you need to have a personality and you need to have instinct. Now, maybe I'm different, but I read every crowd. Every venue that I go into, Freddie knows, I don't write set lists. There is no set lists. And even when a DJ comes up to me and says, "Hey, could I have your set list?" I'm like, "How the fuck long you been spinning?" I said, "I'm not giving you no set list." And he says, "Why not?" I'm like, "Nobody gives a fuck. Play that same song 3 times in a row. They're not going to give a fuck." I said, "If you give them a glow stick and maybe a selfie, then you got their attention."
And I got to tell you, for somebody who's got to play for him, that puts your ass on your toes all the time.
Well, I appreciate it. I understand, but, you know, I know some people get aggravated with it. Listen, it's a circus. You know, David Lee Roth taught everybody that Van Halen was a circus band with a talented guitar player. They had the best of both worlds. We don't have that anymore. We don't have frontman personalities anymore. We have a bunch of fucking morons getting up there and setting up a sample because they're too lazy to learn their instrument and think that's the way it's going to be. And when you put that sample on, guess what? Your show becomes automatically sterile. And you have to follow the sample controls of the show and the stage, not the front man.
Well, Paul, if you lost all of us and like the Dave Crumbs of the world, you'd be fucked. I mean, bottom line is we're not making musicians anymore.
Well, we are. They're just young yet. They're not coming up. There's definitely an itch someplace that's bubbling, that of the younger generation. And when I say younger generation, I mean beyond 18 years old, younger. There's something there.
But you know what? I'm fearful of it. You know what? I think that there's just too, like, you know, George Carlin said, everybody's got a gizmo and gadget in every corner of their life, and it rubs their balls and makes breakfast for them. And when you have that, you don't have any creativity. It's your Linus blanket. I said on an interview I had one time. These people, even people not even young, different ages. I see people in our generation using samples because they think you have to do that. And then it takes control of them. I'm like, shut that fuck. You know, I had a drummer one time. I'm like, shut that sampler off. I'm going to rip it off your drum set. I'm going to throw it in the fucking water. I said, play your drums. Let's play and forget about the samples. People don't care about mistakes. They don't hear modes. They don't hear some guitar player going, "Oh my God, did she hear my mistake?" No, she didn't hear your mistake. All she saw was your balls hanging out of your zipper with your leather pants, dickhead. Okay, so
No, it's true.
they just want to show.
No one's putting on Led
they don't-
Zeppelin 2 side B and fucking playing to it. I mean,
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, this is a cover circuit of entertainment. You are there to entertain people. I don't care. I told Abel and the Amish Outlaws, and they do great. They're awesome. You know what? They have a great gimmick. He's got to get on stage every night and put on that Amish outfit. And he said to me, "Would you do this?" I go, "I respect you, but hell no. I'm not pushing around no cart carriage with a horse and wearing an Amish outfit. This is not my style." But I respect them for what they do.
Not only that, Paul, but I think usually in your show you say it right, and he makes an announcement usually when the crowd goes a little dry, of you guys like what's the line, Paul? You guys like to play Guitar Hero, and you basically have Dave going into playing Eruption note for note the way Eddie would, and that's the real life Guitar Hero. And it's crazy because there are other people that will attempt that and fall flat on their face, or they attempt it and think they're doing it properly and cheating someplace else, but it's not the same thing. And I think this is where you're going at, of like, to me, and Paul's favorite saying to me is, I don't care if you know the Phrygian scale or not, just play the fucking song. And I'm not a school musician. I'm a self-taught musician, just like Paul is. I mean, he probably knows a lot more than I do, but I didn't learn triads and all that other bullshit. I learned how to play what I liked, what I felt, and learning off of what my idols did. And I think probably the coolest thing I saw was, and I'm not trying to kiss ass here, was Paul Big Bang, and thankfully I wasn't there because I would have totally fucked it up. But I think it was like a month ago, Paul, you guys just did Spirit of the Radio.
Yeah, Tom Sawyer. Yeah,
Tom Sawyer. Yeah, and nobody's gonna pull that off, but he's got a fucking drummer that's gonna fucking nail it to the T. He's got a guitar player that's gonna nail it to the T. Paul's gonna sing it to the T. And no, I mean, everybody and their cousin came out after Neil died and tried to pull off a Rush song, and just flopped. But at least Paul had the sense of like, I'll wait a couple weeks and then I'll pull it off.
Yeah, well, and then on top of it,
I got to tell you guys, I kind of fell out of love with the whole, scene after a while. I was on the fence, and one day, I mean, I'll swear here my love for Phil DeZaglio till the end of the world. I mean, he's the one who got me back into, doing what I had done after not having done it, for a handful of years. And even my love for Phil wasn't enough. To the point where it didn't matter.
You know the old saying, Chris. Somebody's out there sick of fucking Pamela Anderson, as good as she looks. So
Wait, are you saying that Phil looks like Pamela Anderson? Are you comparing the two of them?
No, what I'm saying is that a good steak tastes like shit after a while when you're something repetitive.
From my friend Phil.
It's not Phil. I'm not talking about Phil. I'm talking about anything.
We're all friends with Phil. We're all friends with Phil. I know.
I'm here with my daughter who has an infatuation with Phil. Like,
you got to break her that shit now.
But as much as I love Phil, and I love the camaraderie being in, Whiskey Field, it got to a point where I remember not really caring how well someone thought I played Don't Stop Believing. I kind of felt like I was doing a lot of things for the wrong reasons. And I left, that scene again, to pursue other things that were more serving to my soul. But I have that luxury to make those, kind of decisions. but I still am fearful, for my other colleagues right now as they go through a situation like this. Where I know that they depend on that money for a lot of things.
I wonder if we can make this a total shit show and add Phil into the call.
Oh, if you can get Phil in this call, it'll never be the same ever again. And people will stop ever listening to your show. But I love it.
I can't have. I'm only had to. I was only able to have one more in, so we can't add him in. But maybe I'll have to set something up where we can get the four of us to chat. I'll just have him come to my house.
I just wonder how you guys are, who are still much engaged, and I've benefited greatly.
Sorry.
From being involved in working with you guys, because I've been able to bring that into another realm of performance. One of the things that I've brought to the other sectors in which I work is that cover band experience.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I brought it to an original band or to a tribute band, but I wonder what happens next.
Only time will tell. I don't think we could speculate.
What happens
anything.
next? What are we talking about? Are you talking about the post-pandemic? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's going to change. Every kind of crisis like this changes culture. As far as music, there might be some. Artists are always going to create, just like you just said before, Chris. You got tired of Whiskey Fueled. As there are people in my band that got tired of Big Bang Baby. I've been through 27 members. That includes subs and permanent people. Some people have been around for 8 or 10 years. I've had a lot of long-term people, and some people that passed through. And I made sure that I always set up the band. I just listen to you, and I understand the philosophy, because you know what? People get fucked, like I said before. They get tired of, if I fed you a steak 30 days in a row, you're like, give me some fucking fish, Paul. Because you're going to get tired of eating that fucking steak.
Paul, I don't like fish.
Exactly. That depends on what woman you're dating. Anyway, yeah, I know I said it. Anyway, but you get tired after. Artists are the hardest people to work with, because they get so finicky. It's just like, I got to do something else. You get tired of it. How many times can you play it in a row? It takes sheer will. That's why I was telling Fredee, I respect the Nerds. The Nerds are an institution for the cover circuit. And listen, the guy's been doing it for 36 years now, 37 years, playing the same stuff. You almost gotta be medically insane to do that for that long, the same shtick over.
Well,
much respect from me.
Not only that, but you really, if you bring up the Nerds, you have to bring up that they're almost breeders of the scene. Their kids have gone on into cover bands in the New Jersey scene. Jenny Spiro, she played with the Benjamins for a while.
Who does she belong to?
What's that? Jenny? Who does she belong to? You mean who's her dad? I think her dad is
Mongo.
Mongo, yeah.
Keyboard player.
Yeah, Mongo, yeah. And then
no, and
who's your daddy and what do you do? What does he do?
Who's your daddy? What's he do? And then Sean, who used to play for what did Sean play for? He played in a band called Speakeasy. He was a drummer. He played Speakeasy and A True Story. And his dad I think his dad's a drummer of
Isn't it Jack? I think it's Jack.
I don't know all their names.
But you know what you're talking about here. There's a lot of bands, even the new generation, and then new ones coming up. If you notice, nothing is long term. See, when I spoke to my friend who does stocks, he asked me about the stock market. Stock market used to be every industry. If you're investing, everybody's a day trader now. Nobody wants to invest in stocks anymore for long term. Just like nobody wants to have a cover band to get to the other side for long term and work on it. It's all about today is about what have you done for me today. I don't worry about tomorrow. Nothing is consistent.
30-second videos.
Nothing is pure.
Do you think it's that
Exactly, 30-second video.
Paul? Do you think it's that what they're seeing, or that the new bands that are coming up don't know how to sustain it for a long period of time?
I think it's work ethic, family. I think family has been broken. I think that tech is teaching everybody more and more that, you know what, let us do the work for you. You know, Elon Musk said it the best. Why is Google even more powerful than ever? Every time that you feed that Google or Siri with a question, it becomes more intelligent, and after a while, it becomes you.
Mm-hmm.
So you feed that, and most people, they don't have the attention span. Barely anybody has any patience anymore,
Mm-hmm.
or their ADD is so high that they can't focus on success. And the more that we deal, and this is the side of the Democratic Party I fucking hate, is that right now, the narrative is looking down at success. Don't worry about it. We got this covered. And that's a bad narrative, because nobody, you know, these entitled kids of rich families, they don't want to work. They don't have to work. We're soft. I always got a cushion. I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to have a state given to me. And that is the mistake, is nobody wants to put the time in. Nobody. That's why these bands are failing and these small businesses are failing. People just walk into something without even thinking about it.
So let me ask you this. Hold on. Let me ask you this,
Chris.
and because and this will have to, you know, this part of the conversation will have to wrap up the show, because I'm fading here. But with all this bullshit,
pussy.
right? I am a pussy. With what Paul just said, with what Paul just said, that leads us into a great point of a discussion. What do you think is gonna? I mean, with this whole stimulus shit, do you think this is gonna? Because this can make or break the country easily, with a lot of people who I mean, I don't know, Chris, you got to go into work, your health, but I mean, I'm lucky enough to work from home. There's people I know that don't have that luck, you know, and are forced to stay home and not make any money at all. And there's a lot of guys that the three of us know, that their industry, their form of income is going out and playing. What do you think is going to happen with that? And I'll flip it to Paul first.
What, after the post pandemic?
Well, no. I'm talking about now, real day, with the Democrats now shooting down the stimulus again today.
No, they're going to come to an agreement. You'll probably see something by tonight. And as far as the stimulus, what's going to happen when we start dishing out the money?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's quite honestly, this is going to be the Trump administration. I really do feel that, you know, he's not our savior, but I think we're at the end of the line. What decisions Trump makes between taking care of the common folk and making sure that money is not taken from the big corporations, and that he learns from his own mistakes. Because listen, you can be Trump all you want. His background is shit. You know, he pillaged, he did a great job in Atlantic City, but he also pillaged his casinos and purposely bankrupted them for the matter of not paying small people and subcontractors. And anybody can fight with me all day. You don't know shit. I do. And that's what he did. Maybe he'll learn from his mistakes as president and say, if I take my approach I did with the casinos, with the stimulus, this is it for the country. Because everybody's going to cash out, and the fat cats are going to cash out, and you're going to see this country go into turmoil like the Roman Empire.
Chris, what's your thought?
Well, you know, you're balancing a real pandemic here, despite what people had anticipated before January 28th, January 23rd, you know, January 31st. I think, you know, as a medical professional, you know, we saw this coming. I think an Italian American who was going to be in Italy on February 28th,
mm-hmm.
who understands Italian geopolitics, I knew that as soon as Wuhan broke, Italy was next. And I actually had a trip that I actually canceled. I would have been in Italy from February 28th until March 9th, and I would I would have still been there.
Mhm.
There would have been no leaving.
God. Mm.
I think, outside of worldly awareness, I think you're right, Freddie. I think a lot of people are going to find themselves in a very compromised position in the next, 2, 4 to 8 weeks.
Mhm.
We have a whole separate podcast on my, predictions for the pandemic.
Mhm.
As a practicing physician, I think that Paul's right. You can't really place blame on a political party at this point because no one's really working in our best interest. At the same time, though, I think the Republican proposal was less a la carte, and I think that part of the problem is that you're seeing a lot of things in the new bill or the new proposal proposed by the House Democrats really is pushing items that aren't related necessarily to the pandemic, and that's going to kind of stifle the efforts. I think that the president needs to do something substantial to support Americans. But the problem here goes back to what we may face 20 years from now is Troy. I had the experience of having a very unsatisfactory or unsavory experience in the artistic sector. And I said, you know what? I've got to get myself into a position where music is a passion, a hobby that I can pursue on the side, but I need to eat. And whether you're a carpenter or you're a mechanic or whatever you do, you're doing something to supplement your income to be self-sustainable.
Mhm.
And without that, like I said before, we don't have nice tits and a great ass. We're not going to survive on Venmo. We're not going to survive on Patreon as, cover band musicians.
Well,
It's not gonna
I got to tell you, I'm going to disagree with you. I've stood behind Paul several times. He's got great ass.
Oh yeah, you definitely are fading, my friend.
But the point being, limousine liberals can stand on their principles because they have a lot of money. Ultra rich Republicans can, look down their nose at us because they have all the things that they need. But then there's a shitload of people right in the middle who either are getting by or are going to feel the tremendous repercussions of what's happening. But at the same time, Paul, if you want a stimulus check, you should have been completing a tax return every year, because that's where they're going to develop that. That's where they're going to mine that data to see who's below the threshold or not. And if you've been cheating the government for X amount of years, guess what? You're not getting a check. And the sector in which I perform, there's a lot of musicians, a lot of DJs who are ultra liberal, who don't pay taxes, who are, Bernie bros, and
they
so
they don't sit in a business mind of I'm going to do this in a business sense,
and they're going to wonder why their checks aren't coming when they haven't been filing tax returns.
Right, and I had the same conversation with somebody of, well, they in the first stating of it, what they were like, well, it's going to be based off the 2018 taxes. Then it was, well, we're going to give I think the first thing I heard was $2,000 a person to every single person in the family, but not exceeding $5,000 in a household. And then it was, well, it's going to be $1,000 a person to $1,200 a person. Honestly, if they go back to the taxes, they can sit there and go, okay, well, your household made over $250,000 last year. You're not getting anything. and your household
Paul,
made under $100,000
is it
this year.
90,000? Isn't that the threshold, or was it?
They're very vague with it all. I mean, I've been looking into it because I know a lot of people that have been asking me about it. A lot of people have been talking to me about it, even my own wife, and I'm like, I don't. To me, I'm not expecting anything. And
Yeah, I'm not getting a Trump check.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Yeah, this is not when Bush did it and it was like everybody's getting, X amount of money, $600, and then you're going to pay 40% tax on it the following year. This is not the same thing.
You know what the $600 came from? How ironic. China.
Yeah.
Okay, but go ahead.
Exactly. But in this situation, to be honest with you, I don't want it, and I had a conversation with somebody, a friend of mine, about this online, and he's just like, well, you may need it next week. Not to say I won't, and maybe I'm being a little too positive about it, but I'm lucky. I'm able to work from home. I'm still making a paycheck, and what I do, they're not looking at cutting it off.
Let me just cut you off. Take that check. Let me just tell you something. It's not shit.
No,
but let me tell you something. Yeah. Take the check, because I'm going to tell you something right now. You're still going to get taxed if you take it or not.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
take it.
No. Honestly, if I do get the check, it's just going into my tax fund anyhow, because that's where a majority of it's going to end. Unless I could figure out some way to write off 90% of it, which I could probably do. But in that sense, it will just go into my
that on tape.
Yeah. But it's just, to this point, it's just like, all right, well, what are we gonna do? And my feeling about it is that, and there's a lot of, I know, and I probably should have somebody who has a Democratic view in this conversation, but we all three of us have a Republican view of it.
I have both. I have Democrat and Republican.
Okay, that's good.
We can.
But to me, I feel that this is getting twisted in the news, as always, and it's also getting twisted in people's minds. And I think that's getting twisted by their bank account. And I think there's some points of it where people are like, well, if you take the poor approach, yes, you're gonna view the side of the large corporation. But if you take the I make enough money approach, then you're gonna take this side. And to me, it's just like, look, in my heart of hearts, I know there's people that need this fucking money, and whatever needs to get done to get those people the fucking money, give it to them. We had we had hold on. We had a lady across the street, and I put this up on Facebook. Her and her church collected food for families that needed it. Not enough, even though people stated that they were going to be there to help hand it out, not enough people were there to hand it out. She walked it across the street with her granddaughter to give us boxes of food. I didn't feel comfortable taking it. My wife took it because she doesn't like to say no and to make people feel uncomfortable about it. But we talked about it for hours of what we were going to do with it, and we wound up giving it to somebody,
But Fredee, hold on. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, okay? We live in the world of, Paul, help me out here. If you're a homeowner,
which I'm not,
are a responsible adult over the age of 40,
mm-hmm.
We live in the world of about $1,000. No matter what you do, it's about $1,000.
Right.
Where is a stimulus check of $1,000 really gonna fucking get you?
Well, and the other point.
Wait a minute.
And I think you're pushing that number a little too far. And
first of all, the bottom line is, let me just say something real quick. The bottom line is this: a one-time payment check. This is a Hail Mary, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a Hail Mary to hope that this thing flattens and slows down quicker. Understand something? If it doesn't, everybody's going to get their check, and if it doesn't, welcome to 1929. Bet on it.
Well, let me weigh in on that. All right, so let me weigh in on that. If you look at the data, it's early. All right, and I'm going to say this trepidation. My wife asked me the same exact question not more than an hour and a half ago, which was looking at the data from New Jersey in the last 24 hours.
Right.
And she asked me if I was, if I was scared. I'm staring down the barrel of being put into a MASH tent in the next, 48, 72 hours to, screen mass individuals, whatever it is. I don't know that we're going to see what people expect, only because even though the quarantine efforts have been less than we expected, we're not running around doing things in the last 72 hours that we should not have been doing, whether it's 75% of us or 65% of us. But if I'm wrong, Paul, you're right. And that is, could there be mass closure of things for an extended period of, time and so on and so forth? And $1,000 is shit. And that's kind of my point.
Well, and
it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid hoping that the wound will close without getting stitches.
That's a big
it's my
fucking
best
Band-Aid.
analogy. What's that?
That's a little Band-Aid on a big fucking wound.
Well, whatever the case is, and Chris is right. And Chris is in the medical field, and I trust him. I won't question him. He's on the front line. And you know what, Chris? Every day I hope that you're safe. I really fucking hope so. You know what I mean?
Paul, this is what I sign off for. This is like the fucking Super Bowl, man. Like, I can't wait to get in that fucking tent.
You're out of your fucking gourd.
Well, whatever the case is, that's right. You got the balls hanging. You go out there and do it. That's fine. But still, I still hope that you're safe. That's it. You're doing. You know what? You have a choice not to be there, and you're going out there. You're kind of like
Paul,
me. You know what? I don't run from it.
I don't. You want to know why? Like I normally wouldn't say this, but among friends and the people that are listening, I'll say this, which is, I serve American veterans. And there's no more deserving group of people that I'd rather put my fucking life on the line for. If me swabbing their throat makes a difference, you know what? And I don't have the best outcome at the end. These fucking guys
and girls
have put, and women.
There you go.
And women have put everything on the line for us. It is literally the fucking least that I can do for them.
And that is true, because Chris, he doesn't work for a similar hospital that my wife works for or other friends work for. He works for the vets. So he's serving a higher power in that sense.
Well, understand something in everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in everything that we do, and the volatile parts. Yes, of course, the military personnel that's our last line of civil defense.
Right.
But what's going on right now is a fucking hidden war that we can't see. So it makes it, fear is worse than the act itself that happens after that. The fear of the unknown really is a mind fuck. I'd rather get the job done than go through the fear. So,
right, I mean, you almost wish you had purple dots. I almost wish it was like the purple dot disease. You know what I mean? You almost wish that.
Well, Chris, let me ask you.
Well, it's faulty. It's hidden. You know what? I love our military. Don't get me wrong, but you know what? When you're dealing with something like this and you don't know where it's at, it's like I told you before. The mind game is worse than the physical act getting it done. So that's just the way I look at it. You fight a war, you can plan your strategy. Yes, of course, you can wind up getting killed or getting shot or whatever. But this one, it's all around us.
Chris, as a medical professional, let me ask you this, because Paul and I had this conversation. Paul and I had, if you want to call it, we tend to have mini podcasts on our own, but we had this conversation earlier. Now, the numbers that we heard this during the day was that
Right.
there's currently 40,000 cases in the U.S. and that's going just by people that are being tested, right?
Correct.
Cuomo is stating that there's 20,000 cases in New York. New Jersey has 1,900 cases.
It was more than that when I left work. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you get different numbers than we do through CNN
Right.
or Fox News or whatever fuck you.
Right.
What are your thoughts of why New York is so impacted upon other states that the numbers are like, I mean, prior to this, it was, Washington State had, 4,000 cases, and then all of a sudden New York surpassed them. And I don't know if it was just because of testing, but all of a sudden New York jumped from 2,000 to 8,000 to 15,000 to 20,000 in the matter of a week.
Yeah. Well, if anyone's listening, what I would say is this: is that I've had many friends have asked me in the last 3, 4, 5 days about quote unquote being tested. I live half a mile from the Bergen County testing center, and I drive past it every morning on the way to work. And this morning at 7:30, our testing center was at capacity, meaning people were lining up from 2:00 in the morning. The center opens at 8:00, and at 7:30 we're already at capacity, turning people away.
How much of that do you think is just out of fear, over to real like
99.9%?
Right.
Unfuck.
And this is why I tell people. So, Freddie, if I told you tomorrow morning you were positive for COVID-19, what really changes in your life?
Nothing.
If you're negative, are you going to go out and
infect
spread
others?
Your sputum all over the place?
No, because I spent some time of my life in working in a hospital. I understand how that goes, and I have my wife who's a medical professional. My father-in-law is a medical professional, and to me, looking at the aspects of this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, if I feel even remotely fucked up by anything, whether it's this or a flu or a cold, I'm staying in. Especially at this situation. I'm not going to go visit my wife's aunts and uncles who are in their 60s or 70s just so I can fuck them up, or the videos that I'm seeing of idiots licking friggin', poles in a subway. I'm going to stay home.
Or fruit, right?
Yeah, or fruit.
I mean, forget your conscience, but like theoretically, what could you possibly do if you're negative? You're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to go to a bar and have a drink. It's not going to happen. So now, if I tell you that you're positive, what really changes for you?
As of right now, nothing. I mean,
correct.
Yeah, and I mean, I have the common sense to stay in.
But that's my opinion on testing. You need to stay in anyway. Right? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
why New York City? It's really
density.
Well, it's not even New York City. It's if you want to call it the New York boroughs, really, of what's
well, let me just jump in. I mean, I will tell Chris what to do, but
you got to separate New York City from New York.
Sorry,
you got to separate New York City from New York from epidemiological standpoint.
Right.
You have to.
What was that, Paul?
You have to.
It's density. I mean, I would never get into Chris's profession. That's why I'm listening to Chris.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the logic of why there's more, listen, every urban area has more density. We talked about it today, Freddie. If you go out to North Dakota, it's not going to be as much because there's not as much density.
Mm.
It's just people are congregated so tightly. New York City has 7 million people alone and squeezed in like a sardine can.
I think even more than that.
Right.
Whatever. 9 million.
Yeah.
It's density.
Go ahead, Chris.
It's entitlement. It's political disposition.
Well, look at Louisiana that jumped from 140 cases last night to 800. today.
Well, because they didn't stop
The
Mardi
Mardi
Gras.
Well, no. I don't think it was that. I think all of a sudden they opened
Yes, it was.
they opened up 2 testing facilities as well.
But they were infected during Mardi Gras. This has been around for a while. From what I'm pretty
absolutely,
sure.
yes,
So,
yeah.
and Florida also, because people are saying the heat. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. About the heat and the virus. Well, Florida is transient. They in 2017 they had 75 million people go through Orlando alone from all around the world. That's why they're infected.
No, Paul, you're right.
It's even worse.
100% right. We share in New Jersey and New York and Connecticut, maybe, the community that migrates between the tri-state area and Florida. We share those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They coexist in Florida and the metropolitan area.
Well, the Florida governor just posted today, if anybody's traveled from New York, Pennsylvania, or Florida into or Jersey rather into Florida or back, they have to go get tested because
How long of a time span?
In the past 2 weeks, because it's a matter of, Florida is known, and I lived in Florida as a kid and even as an older a child or adult, and it's a snowbird community, and a majority of the people that are there from September to May are from New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Sometimes you get Connecticut.
100%.
Yeah. So they want to be concerned. And not only that, but you had all the fucking idiots from spring break down there, and they haven't shut down all the beaches. They've only shut down 4 township beaches at this present time. So it's you got morons who are in college thinking they're invincible, and now they're coming back and realizing they're not invincible. And then you have the snowbirds they're coming from here to there for the remainder of the season that are like, fuck, we just brought this shit down here now.
Well, Freddie, there will be insurmountable number of people from spring break who test positive.
Mm-hmm.
But think about New Jersey for a minute. It's going to affect you guys differently than it will affect me, because you're not part of like the megalopolis that is, New York, lower New York State, upper New Jersey, and basically like Connecticut to a certain degree. But the fact of the matter is, you have not only a crisis, as Paul pointed out, of proximity, you have, this cultural problem of entitlement and ties to New Jersey, Bergen County in particular, where if I could be in the movie On the River Kwai, I'd fucking blow that bridge up in like 3 seconds and leave every motherfucker in New York City until this shit is over. Because you have a perfect
great way to end a party right now.
I know, right? Kablam! See you later. I'm going home.
Right.
Let me just drop a fucking Moab and get out of here to North Dakota.
Right.
That.
Well, there is, Paul, much like Sicily and Italy, when I was looking at, like the models coming out of Italy from an epidemiological standpoint, I was really confounded as to why there were cases in Sardinia and Sicilia when I looked at the whole situation, because there's literally a fucking body of water that separates them from the mainland and the islands. And there's clearly a body of water that separates us from New York City and New Jersey and, the outer boroughs and all that stuff. But because we have become so accustomed to movement, unrestricted movement, that it's not surprising that in the boroughs close to New York City, we're seeing increased number of cases of this virus. But you're balancing that against other religious communities in those areas that don't subscribe to the regulations.
I can't. Yeah, I can't. You know what? I can listen to that. You know what? I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't give a shit what religion you are. You know what? That's where I draw the line. You know what? I'm tired of this.
Paul,
bullshit.
that's going to get you guys. That's
well,
you know, that's the Lakewoods and
whoa. Wait. You're going way south of us though, for the Lakewoods. And I saw a lot of images from Lakewood today where I was just like,
yeah, we're Middlesex.
Yeah,
we're Middlesex County.
Yeah, we're Middlesex.
But listen, guys, we gotta meet somewhere. You're in the middle between me and you. You're in the middle of that and me.
Well, that's true because you're above us in Bergen and above that.
And someone's got to draw the line. Like, this shit's got to stop.
Well,
and if you know,
to me, the line is the Raritan Bridge right now.
Yeah, but a sign is listen. The thing is this, and especially when it comes down to morals and people, this is what I'm talking about our country. And this pertains to, really quick, and I don't want to get too long into it. I know it gets fucking boring, but it pertains to what you do in the medical field and also just human activity and what area of the country you're from. We live in a very liberal area. You know what? There's good and bad with everything. And you know what the problem is with this, especially with New York and Jersey now, is that with all this bullshit with going on with the crime bills and loosening up regulations on crime and everything else, and don't even get me started with Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio is probably one of the main factors
a whole nother
why
discussion.
This thing has it's exploding because people are in this conditioning like, you know what, the cops aren't going to do anything. No one's going to tell us what to do. You know what? It's free time, crime time. And that's going to be harder to compact and pull people down when you just condition them to be so liberal and soft on crime. Where maybe some other communities were a little bit more tight-knit and less of this bullshit, you know what? They're going to cooperate a little bit quicker because they're a little more conditioned for community. And that's the problem in New York City. And Cuomo's trying to put a stop on it because you got this fucking idiot like de Blasio, and he's an idiot. And I don't care who's listening on here. If you think he's any good, he's an idiot, a moron. And this is why it's exploding. I've never seen, this guy, de Blasio, if you guys ever see that movie Multiplicity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You ever see the third one that was shaving without the blade? The one that was shaving with the blade, the third remake?
Steve.
That's de Blasio.
That's my favorite character in the whole movie.
Paul, you know my problem?
No, that's him.
With him really is, my problem with him really is that his name is really William Wilhelm. And
he's got a stage name?
He kind of pirated this Italian-American persona. I mean, Paul, you'd be hard-pressed to find a prouder Italian-American than me. He adopted this Italian-American persona, and it's so insulting for everything that I stand for. Raising 3 Italian-American children, and it's just very it's very frustrating. His whole situation is just.
Listen, this plays a big part into it. Leadership, it's very simple facts. Leadership plays a big part in everything to make your job easier. And when you have morons leading the way, your job is only going to get 10 times as harder. That's it. It's a very simple formula.
Isn't it crazy that we live, the 3 of us live in New Jersey, and we all are impacted by de Blasio, and we all have feelings towards him, and it's like
the thing. So
well, hold on. My point is it's just like there's not a morning that I go by that I listen to 1010 Wins and he comes up and I'm like, I fucking can't stand this guy, and the shit that he's done, and to friends of mine and friends of ours that are police officers in the beginning when he first joined, it's just like for people that live in New Jersey, we shouldn't really. I mean, when Koch was mayor of New York, nobody in New Jersey gave a shit. I mean, yeah, we talked about it, or even when Giuliani was, mayor, it didn't impact New Jersey. But for some reason, this fucking idiot, and I have no problem saying that, impacts us all because of the shit that he's tying in, and he's a complete fucking moron when it comes down to it all. Because he has no sense of it. For him to, and I think that was Paul that just made the horse sound, but for him to fight against somebody like Andrew Cuomo, who is trying to do the right thing, and
Cuomo's doing a great job.
And to me, Cuomo is setting the standard for the Northeast. Like Cuomo speaks, and then all of a sudden Murphy reacts. Murphy follows what Cuomo does, and I've been following that through the past 2 weeks. And De Blasio is just like, nah, well, I'm not shutting the city down yet. Well, you're a fucking idiot.
Well, the fact of the matter is that Cuomo stepped up to the plate, and everything is about leadership. For what Chris is doing right now, you need good leadership to help people like Chris out to make his job easier.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And Trump is very lucky, because you know what? He's lucky that that Cuomo had more time to register as a run, because this is Cuomo's 9/11, like Giuliani.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
And Cuomo right now, if he was able to register as a Democrat to run for president, he'd be eating Trump's breakfast and lunch right now.
Cuomo said something yesterday. I was watching on his not yesterday. Yeah, maybe it was yesterday or Sunday, or for Saturday rather. He said something in his briefing when he was talking about potential hospital locations, and you were able to see it in his mind, and whether it was written down for him or not, but in his mind he was thinking quickly, and he goes, even the Javits Center for potential, hospital locations. In my head, I automatically went to when I took my son to the car show and walked through that place and how large it is. I went, oh my God, that's a perfect hospital spot. Why wouldn't they use the Javits Center?
They never let Andrew Cuomo be president of the United States.
Because he's got too much of an Italian name?
Yep.
He ends with a vowel?
Never happened.
He ends with a vowel.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's possible.
Well, that was the same thing with his dad, too. And they said the same thing about his dad. And his dad was a good governor as well.
Maybe not. Giuliani had an opportunity. He just fucked up his campaign. And you could be right. I don't really. You know what? I understand that you might be talking about the WASPy elitist group that runs it from the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. I mean, we did have an Irish president.
We're not.
That didn't work so well.
Color.
That the Irish president didn't work so well for us.
Well, he was one of the greatest presidents. He was a great president. That's why it didn't work out so well. Because you know what? He really he walked by the beat of his own drum. And you know what?
Who's that? Was that like Kennedy?
Well, he walked to the beat of his dad's drum. And that could be another discussion. That could be another discussion. And I come from a big Kennedy supporting family, but that could be a total different discussion. Yeah.
I try not to look at ethnicity, Chris, but I understand what you're saying. But
never happened. They won't allow it. Even the left wouldn't allow it.
So I want to say this, because I do have to wrap this up, because this is getting to a period of time where people are probably going to tune out. This started out as what was going to be a half-hour test show. Both of you turned it into and not only that, but up until this, I've only discussed music shit. Not that music is shit. But you guys have turned this into a very interesting 2 hour and 15-minute show. And I want to thank you both, as both good friends of mine, for doing this.
Don't have smart Italians on. This is what happened.
Yeah.
I know I can't have two loudmouth Italians on a show at one time.
Well, no, it's a good thing. This is the Fredee show extended version called Cacaron.
Then we're gonna go get the Gamadas after this,
And I want to listen. I had a great time. Thanks, Fred. I mean, let's do it again. And Chris, I've been talking to you a long time, and really, I mean,
Yeah, thanks.
Listen, no matter what it is, really, I'm grateful for you
great
doing
to hear your voice.
Really am grateful.
Well, I gotta say, I think due to my regular work schedule and family schedule, if I can try to circulate some time in the evening to do this, I may try to do this throughout the weeks of whatever we're going through.
Request, though.
Okay.
Freddie, I have one request.
Oh, Jesus
All right,
Christ.
because next time we do it, it's got to be Skype.
Skype.
I want to see who I'm talking to. I'm old-fashioned. Two is, are pants required on the podcast?
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm wearing pants, but the people can see me.
That's strike two. That's strike two right there.
No. And to be honest with you, I had to wait 24 hours to get approval from YouTube to do this, which was crazy.
What's that all about?
I don't know. And I'm beating the system because I had to go through 2 different voice dials just to get both of you on. And
can you put us both on the screen at the same time? See, if you both all via Skype, it would be awesome.
If we do, I have to figure out how to either do that or I was looking at, and matter of fact, even Trish just said it. I have a Zoom account or even a WebEx account, but I don't want to give Cisco any more money. And Zoom,
I don't know, but the way fucking Chris is talking, he's gonna have a Grinder account.
or like Pornhub.
Yeah, but if he has a Grinder account, he's only gonna have Paul Riario anyhow, so it doesn't make a difference.
He wants Skype and he wants some visual. I mean, next we're gonna have fucking Rip Taylor on saying hello, Frisco.
Hello.
Chris.
Look, you want to get followers, you gotta have visual.
I do. I don't know if I don't know if I want those followers there, friend.
You know what? Maybe I should visit Italy and find out how those Roman baths really are.
Or at least the vomitoriums.
Chris can tell you. They all got hairy backs.
Right.
They all have hairy backs. Well, I want to thank you guys a lot. We were able to hold. We had a drastic amount of people jumping up and down. Well, not jumping up and down, but the count of people that we've had throughout the show. We have held at least 3 people throughout the entire program. And they're not us.
Yeah,
and they're not us.
Yeah, and they probably get it on mute while they're waxing their legs.
I want to thank at least my friend Brian and Trish for sticking around. I don't know who the third person is. It may be my wife going, when the fuck are you getting done with this shit? But who knows? Again, thank you both for doing this. And I think we can, I may bring you guys back in another week. Oh, Harry backs you fuck. Brian, you jerk off. I may bring you back in a week, the 2 of you, so we can recap of what the fuck just happened. And
if we're still alive.
Well, forget that. I mean, the next song that even Paul and I have talked about is that famous tune, Martial Law. And we'll see what happens with that. So thank you guys.
All right, gentlemen.
And I'll talk to you all soon, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Okay.
Stay safe, Chris.
Same to you guys. All right, buddy.
Okay.
All right, brothers. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Well, thank you all for sticking around. And this will be posted online. And it was fun. Normally, I would do an intro and outro for a show. And this was a different type of episode that I would have never thought to do. And it was great. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And I want to thank everybody who stuck around, the people who tuned in. That was also fun. And we'll see you soon. Maybe I'll decorate the office differently and clean some shit up. Who the fuck knows? All right. Have a good one. Good night.